Welcome, one and all, to the Off the Mic Wrestling Show here on YouTube. I'm Mike Mayer, your Monday Night Raw recap here. This was about as strong of a television show as you're going to see on WWE regular main roster television the entire year, non-pay-per-view, whatever. This was maybe the best Raw of the year, maybe, like I said, best Raw or SmackDown, period, non-PLE show of the year. This was fantastic from top to bottom. Even kind of the semi-throwaway segments kind of did it. There was a couple things on here that were kind of a little bit of a misfire, but it's like you have to fill 3 hours, so it's kind of hard to do that. But yeah, this was outstanding. And the show starts with the new World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther, and really just hammering home the point that he's the champion and this is going to be a long and potentially prosperous and historic title reign with the World Heavyweight title. Good to see Ludwig Kaiser back. That was awesome. That had been rumored in the days to come, that in the days prior to this, that he was going to be back for a match against Sheamus, which followed this, which was really awesome. But yeah, this was all about Gunther hammering home the points that he's the champion now, and he's going to be holding it for a long time. And then I got to give credit to WrestleVotes. He put the tip out there, but out comes Randy Orton. It actually happens, and we're going to get Randy Orton versus Gunther at Bash in Berlin at the end of the month. Hell fucking yeah. This is all you wanted to see, because here's my big... Everybody remembers the match of King and Queen of the Ring. It was an outstanding match, but nobody really remembers the in-ring work from it because of the botched finish. But Triple H mentioned this, and you knew in the back of your mind, with the way Triple H tells stories, things aren't forgotten. And that was a big theme of this show, is that things are not forgotten, in long-term storytelling. Long-term booking paid off immensely on this show. And Randy coming out to interrupt Gunther and basically reminding, hey man, you're a good-looking champion, but hey, you're only in the position you are because you beat me, but you didn't really beat me. Was hoping like he wants to have like a modern day Flair Steamboat. He referenced Randy goes back to like saying, yeah, you're something of a legend. Well, I'm a legend killer. So yeah, this was great. And Gunther says, yeah, you know what? I there's a bad taste in my mouth from what happened at King and Queen of the Ring, and I need to beat you. And so basically, good line here from Gunther: your voices in your head are wrong. And so they accept. He accepts the match, and then off mic, there was a nice little thing for people watching at home. Gunther basically says to Randy, "Nothing catches me off guard, and nothing catches me out of nowhere." Excuse me. And Randy says, "That's okay. I want you to see it coming." So listen. I know a lot of people are going to be kind of thrown into into a hissy fit over the fact that Randy is on Raw and he's a SmackDown guy. Guys, it's pro wrestling. Who cares? They can make it make sense. Like, you can jump from show to show. And I think the reason why this is okay is because there is a legitimate storyline reason for Randy to have beef with Gunther being the champion. And Gunther getting a chance right off the bat to legitimize his reign against the future Hall of Famer and Randy Orton is the right way to go. It's a big-time match. It should main event this show. It's an outstanding idea, and I really can't wait to see what these two are able to do in front of what should be an electric crowd overseas at Bash in Berlin. And you know what? A lot of people are pushing for Randy to turn on Cody Rhodes. I think this is a nice little stopgap maneuver to get away from that. And in my mind, and I've said this, like I said, I thought maybe they might want to try and push to have, Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at that big show, Bad Blood in Atlanta in October. I don't think there's any rush to do this match. If you're honestly not going to go with Rock and Cody, and I've thought for a while that Rock versus Cody Rhodes is going to be tabled for a while. I think it's going to be Rock and Roman Reigns that we're going to get at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. If you're going to do that, I think Cody and Randy Orton in a WrestleMania match is the way to go, because these two have such a rich history. The world title could potentially be in the picture. You could tell a really intricate and evolved story. I don't think there's any need to rush doing this match. So if that's the idea that you're going with, sending him over to Raw to do a job for for Gunther and put him over, I think is a great idea. So I can't wait to see this match. Then we get Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. I can't say enough good things about Sheamus. This guy's career almost ended multiple times. Had stenosis, had back issues. He's had to work himself back into shape. All this guy does is put on bangers. That's not just a catchphrase. He puts on banger after banger after banger. And these guys just kicked the living shit out of each other for a long portion of time. By the way, commercial free. But yeah, really, what this came down to, there was a lot of strikes in this thing. Sheamus gets the 10 beats of the Baldwin in. Pete Dunne tries to make a run in near the end of this match using the shillelagh, but he misses. Sheamus then gets in, hits a knee. He hits a knee on Dunne. Kaiser then is able to get an enziguri on him for 2, but then Sheamus counters what appeared to be, I guess, Kaiser's finish. It's like one of those like ripcord DDT like maneuvers, and Sheamus gets a knee, and then he gets the bro kick, and Sheamus gets the win. And yeah, this was awesome. Just if you need somebody to go in and put some work in, you go to Sheamus. Like, he's consistently delivered ever since coming back to the main roster. Post WrestleMania, he's really consistently been a nice piece to this Raw show, and like just delivers like some good wrestling for about 10 minutes every week. It's awesome to see a guy who's really had to fight for a lot, and now he's 15 years into his career, and he's still just, I think he's honestly as good as he's ever been. Because it was really hard to get Sheamus over early on in his career. Nobody really believed in him. Who's this pale, white-looking guy? And then he beats John Cena by kind of like a fluke accident. And then, like I said, his babyface push was botched. He beats Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds. And it was he had the stupid haircut for a long time, was in the bar. But in terms of work rate and just being beloved by the fans, this is the best version of Sheamus. And I can't say enough good things about it. Okay. Wyatt Six really in the show there in the main event. I did not know this, but thanks to Michael Cole and the WWE people, because like I said, nothing is ever forgotten in Triple H's WWE, which is what I love. It's been 11 years since the OG Wyatt family debuted on the main roster in Baltimore, Maryland, which is the site of tonight's Monday Night Raw. So that was really a neat little tidbit. So then we get a Damian Priest promo. I got to tell you, man, I've always been a fan of Damian Priest, and maybe this was a little bit too hokey and corny a little bit for some people. They're doing it right here and making Damian like this uber badass babyface that's just going to kick people's faces in and just say, hey, I'm this guy from the streets who's trying to identify with the crowd. And then the whole angle with Finn Balor playing up and just like saying, hey, I'm going to get my hands on you. I'm going to kick your ass. And then Finn basically says, yeah, you brought this all on yourself. Damian basically betrayed the Judgment Day because, yeah, there's no leaders and you just kind of appointed yourself a leader. I love the callback from Finn into saying, you screwed me multiple times last year out of being the world champion when Damian, in both cases, at Money in the Bank and then at SummerSlam last year, Finn was screwed over because Damian like teased cashing in and the briefcase was involved. It led to Damian's long run with the briefcase and ultimately becoming the champion. And Finn said, yeah, he was biding his time just to wait for the biggest moment for him to screw him over. I think there was mention of like some car ride where Damian effectively told him to man up. And Finn basically says, yeah, I just waited a year to screw you over. Finn calls him a loser from the streets, says, yeah, he won't fight him, but JD will. So that sets up the stage for later in the night. Finn basically says, yeah, I'm only going to attack you when you're least expecting it, and I'm not going to be alone. And into the shot comes Carlito, JD McDonough, Dominic Mysterio, and Liv Morgan. And there is the new Judgment Day 2.0. If you think back to 2022 with Edge's Judgment Day, Liv and Finn were on the babyface side of that against Rhea, and AJ Styles was the third piece in that match, but it was against Rhea, Damian, and Edge at that point. When that was the early infancies of this Judgment Day that they were still trying to figure their way out. But This was outstanding. Damien's getting mad over with the crowd. His in ring style is fantastic. The match at SummerSlam was one of my favorites on the show. It was hard hitting. It was sometimes at points uncomfortable to watch just because these guys were beating the crap out of each other. Um, but yeah, this Judgment Day Civil War that's going to take up the back half of this year is going to be fire. It's going to be fantastic. Then we go backstage to Adam Pearce. Bronson Reed runs in saying, "Why the hell don't I have a match? Why does Sheamus have a match with Kaiser and I don't have him? I beat him." And Pierce kind of defending himself. Bronson Reed basically said, "Yeah, I guess I need to create my own path to get to the top." Remember that, because that's going to play a big time role later in this show. Lyra Valkyria versus Shayna Baszler. This is fine. It was really a nothing match, but it did advance like some of the big pieces of the women's division. I know some truthers on this website are going to get mad because the women got like 2 minutes in this match. Look, Lyra's backup really has splintered, and that was the story they were trying to tell. Lyra was outnumbered. She tries to go for the win with the Nightwing, and it gets broken up for a DQ. And Shayna, Zoe, and Sonya beat down Lyra for a little bit. Damage Control comes in for the save. We're supposed to get Dakota Kai versus Sonya Deville later in the night. Like I said, this was there. It wasn't by any means terrible, but on a show that was so freaking spectacular, this was probably one of the weaker points of the show. Karrion Kross getting a promo, hypes up the match. Authors of Pain against the New Day. Basically says, "Yeah, it didn't have to be this way. Woods, you could have chosen me, and Kofi, you didn't have to follow Kofi, whatever." Another backstage bit. Ivy Nile back on television. She's talking with the Creeds. Then Maxine comes in. Chad Gable interrupts. Chad basically says, "Hey, you, Tozawa, and Otis can keep the Alpha Academy name." And then he walks away with Ivy saying, "Yeah, you don't need to listen to her." So really simple, effective. Sets up the stage a little bit for later in the night, as the main event is Creeds and Gable versus the Wyatt Six. So then we get a CM Punk promo. CM Punk's smiling, and I thought that was a little bit weird, but he did a really good job of explaining himself out of this and basically saying, "Yeah, I haven't been to Baltimore in 10 years, so it's awesome to just hear people screaming my name." He said, "Yeah, SummerSlam was not a guarantee. I was told it was going to take 9 months for me to rehab my tricep, and I got back in 5. And SummerSlam was the start, and I'll continue to fight the way that I know how. My summer of hate didn't start the way I wanted to, but it's still summer, and I want Drew McIntyre because I'm still breathing." He said he put me down for good. Out comes Seth Rollins, not with any of the theatrics. He's kind of got the cowboy getup without the cowboy hat. All black, really. It looks like he's ready for a funeral. So yeah, Seth, he's all serious. Everybody's singing his song. He takes off the jacket slowly, whips out a microphone, says he's in a good mood too because for the first time in 10 years, it's time for me to put you in the dirt. And they're about to set up and fight. And Drew McIntyre walks through the crowd and he interrupts this whole thing. Drew says tonight is a night for celebration. I got to give you, Punk, credit. You proved that you still have it, but you're no longer the best in the world. I am. Drew then brings up the bracelet because while this is all going on, Seth and CM Punk are locked eyes, and they're not even paying attention to what's going on with Drew because these two, as you remember, this was supposed to be the match at WrestleMania, and it didn't happen because of obvious reasons with Punk getting hurt. So they could lock eyes. So then Drew draws attention to the bracelet that he still has, mentioning, "Oh yeah, I still have your wife and your dog Larry on my wrist." And so Punk finally takes his eyes off of Rollins and leaves. As Rollins is wondering what the hell is going on, Bronson Reed just comes up from behind and just starts beating the living shit out of Seth Rollins. So he hits a Death Valley driver. He gets in 2 sentons. Then he hits 2 tsunamis. He gets taken away by producers, but he then makes his way back in. He hits a 3rd. He hits a 4th. He hits a 5th, and then he hits a 6th tsunami. He hits 6 tsunamis, mind you. Bronson Reed is 330 pounds. Seth Rollins is about 220. 6 tsunamis off of the top rope. Seth is then bleeding internally. Bronson teases going for another one, but the producers and everybody are able to roll away. The crowd is going fucking bananas for this segment. Even though Seth is very clearly the fighting babyface, they were going absolutely crazy for this Bronson Reed attack. Bronson Reed got absolutely fucking made tonight. This is one of the defining things, and I know a lot of people are hit and miss on Bronson. This guy can work for a big man. This guy can move for a big man. He does a lot of crazy stuff. He's never gotten that chance to shine. And they finally did it. They finally pulled the trigger, gave him a big moment. I loved everything about this segment. First of all, with the CM Punk and Drew stuff, establishing, hey, it's going to be CM Punk and Drew. That's not done, which I said everybody was disappointed. Oh, this is a grudge match. It was only the beginning of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. We're getting another match and maybe a third match after that. Like, I have a feeling this might be a trilogy. But then, what really hammered home and made this segment so freaking outstanding is the way that they presented Bronson Reed. For the first time on the main roster, this guy felt like a big effing deal. And I liken it to when Braun Strowman was kind of just like, floundering in 2017. Like, everybody was like unsure about who Braun Strowman was. And then Braun Strowman comes in and just absolutely beats the ever-living shit out of Roman Reigns, defamed "I'm not finished with you" promo, or not promo, "I'm not finished with you" attack, and just absolutely would not stop beating the crap out of Roman Reigns. And that was the moment where we as fans really started to accept Braun Strowman as a guy that we really like and a character that got immediately over with the fans. I think that was this kind of moment for Bronson Reed. And I think this guy, and also not to mention him and Seth Rollins, hell yeah. These two guys can work. They will put on some bangers. It gives Seth something to do that's not in the world title picture. It gives him something to do that is not CM Punk or Drew McIntyre. So that's not redundant. It's something different. And it was completely out of left field. And the crowd loved every bit of this. This was one of my favorite segments on the show. So then we get an Adam Pearce backstage segment following this. He says Seth's going to the hospital. CM Punk is then seen looking for Drew, but he says, but Pearce tells him, yeah, I escorted Drew out of the building. Then we get, for the most part, this match was fine. AOP versus New Day. This was kind of really nondescript. It was kind of just there. But then the tail end of this match just woke everybody up because what in the world? Woods is trying to finish the match. Karrion Kross knocks him off the top rope. But who comes out to the rescue? Odyssey Jones, who has been on the main roster and done nothing for over a year. And if you paid attention to him in NXT, this guy is a big dude. He can move, and he's got a personality. It is basically like everything that this New Day group has missed since Big E got hurt 2 years ago. So you're basically installing the Big O. So Odyssey Jones comes in. He throws Karrion Kross into the LED wall on the side of the ring. He comes into the ring and hits a double sidewalk slam on both members of AOP. Mind you, both these guys are over 300 pounds. That was impressive. Karrion Kross gets in, and Odyssey Jones throws Karrion Kross around for a black hole slam. Karrion Kross is not a small man, and he made him look like a small man. The one thing to notice about this that I thought was really interesting, Xavier Woods, and it was hammered home in a later promo backstage after this, Xavier Woods wasn't exactly thrilled about not being clued in on what happened. So that's something to monitor. I don't think the New Day is breaking up. They've made it known that they don't want to split up. But I'm all for, inserting Odyssey Jones into this. If Big E's not going to wrestle, and I hope he does, but it seems like the longer this goes, it's more likely that Big E's not going to wrestle ever again. He's great on kickoff shows, and they're just not clearing him to wrestle. And it sucks because, this guy was WWE champion 3 years ago. Like, he was WWE champion 3 years ago. And now maybe his career might be over. But Odyssey Jones, I think, is, like, the perfect fit to fill that Big E, like, energy guy, big dude who could do big moves and energize the crowd. The crowd really was into this, especially for the big moves that he hit. So I love this as well. JD McDonough, they did a lot of really nice taped, produced packages to hype up these matches in between segments. JD says, yeah, my favorite part of SummerSlam was Priest watching the replay, seeing Finn screw him. He said Judgment Day was the reason you were on top, and Priest you never wanted me in here, and even though I put my body on the line, and he says tonight's going to be my revenge. Then we get the New Day promo to follow up what happened in the ring. Odyssey says, yeah, I'm honored to be a part of the New Day. Xavier's just wondering what's going on. So Kofi explains, yeah, we linked up the PC when I was rehabbing, so still a little bit of misdirection. Like we'll see if Xavier likens up to the idea of having Odyssey Jones in this group. Alpha Academy's involved in this segment for some comic relief, and that sort of ended it. So, and Xavier seemed happy once that happened, and so we ended all happy. Kind of a little bit of a weird match with A-Town Down Under taking on Awesome Truth. A-Town Down Under, obviously, there was a storyline reason for this, even though, again, it's a SmackDown team coming over to Raw. A-Town Down Under was involved in the segment with Jelly Roll and the Awesome Truth at SummerSlam. So, but really, really the story of this match was R-Truth gets a blind tag. Miz is going for a crossbody. So R-Truth gets the blind tag. Miz is wondering what the hell is going on. R-Truth then goes for the AA on Waller. Waller's legs hit Miz in the head, so he's knocked out of the ring. Waller's not the legal man, and Truth doesn't realize this. And Theory hits the A-Town down for the win. The former tag team champions finally get a win, and it tells you that, hey, maybe they're going to work some sort of deal to get A-Town Down Under over to Raw as opposed to being on SmackDown. So we'll see. The former tag team champions get a nice win. They're clearly teasing something because I think the clock for Miz and Truth is running out, and at some point I think you're going to have to break them up. Miz is just a better heel, so I think they're kind of planting the seeds for something to happen down the road. So then we get a Damian hype package similar to what was with JD. He said, yeah, JD, nobody wanted you in the Judgment Day except for Finn. And then he said, yeah, Finn just sent you to me for you to get the first bullet. So that was cool. Braun Breaker gets a backstage segment. He hypes up the fact that it's only been 3 years and basically says, yeah, I'm not the hunted. I'm the hunter. Everybody else is the hunted. He says he feels sorry for the rest of the locker room. The championship was born to be on me. He says there isn't a man on the planet to take the name off the title, and he points to the nameplate on the side of the title. Braun Breaker, for as young as he is, and like he said, for as little time as he's been in the business, is so great. You can see the Steiner in him. You see a little bit of Scott in him. You see a little bit of Rick in him, and just like the athletic ability of Braun Breaker is just outstanding. He's going to have an outstanding run with the Intercontinental title. Then we get Damian Priest versus JD McDonough. So this was a hard-hitting, physical match. Like Damian was just beating the crap out of JD. JD was trying to get some strikes in. Ended this match really heightened up a lot of the drama. Damian gets a massive ripcord clothesline. He goes out the ropes, hits the clothesline. On JD, he kicks Carlito off the apron, trying to do a distraction. Damian then goes for the South of Heaven, but Finn Balor comes in to stab him in the back, and Priest gets up, starts trying to fight back, but it's Finn, JD, and Carlito trying to beat the hell out of Priest. Priest is able to fight back. He knocks out Carlito, trying to get the upper hand. Damian then goes for the Razor's Edge, but Liv is in with Dom. Liv breaks it up, and so Damian gets chop blocked, and then Dom and Liv are starting to beat down Damian Priest when the Rhea Ripley pop happens. Yes, I'm calling it the Rhea Ripley pop. Holy shit. What a reaction for Rhea Ripley, who I have said on this show is a fucking megastar. That is an electrifying pop. She comes down to the ring. Dom and Liv try to get away. Rhea gets a hold of Liv, throws her into the post like pretty aggressively in the shoulder. I'm hoping Liv's okay, but Rhea's going to put Liv through a table with a power bomb. But Dom's able to pull her back. So JD's still fighting Priest. He gets trapped in between the Terror Twins, as they're called, Rhea and Priest. Rhea gets a nasty headbutt in on JD, and Priest gets the South of Heaven. That's the segment. I told you, man, this is going to be one of the storylines in the back half of the year, this Judgment Day Civil War. And I love what they're doing. Rhea's just going to be she's already so over, but now as a baby face, and I just love what they're doing with Priest as well. This was awesome. So then we get ready for another match. Like I said, it was supposed to be Dakota Kai and Sonya Deville, which I was really excited to see. But Damage Control's walking into the ring. Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe attack Dakota's knee. And Sonya's like, yeah, I guess we're not having a match. That actually changes as Io Sky replaces Dakota Kai in this match. This was clunky. And you could tell that Sonya was kind of working from behind in this because it's really like if you, especially, and I'm not trying to knock him. Sonya is coming off a major knee injury. I wouldn't have thrown her in there right away with Dakota would have been a better opponent. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, what caused this to become this match. It was fine. The end of this match was exciting. Kairi Sane gets involved. So Sonya goes for a finish. Everybody's on the outside. And Kairi and Io do dueling dives. Like Io does a moonsault and Kairi does the insane elbow off the top rope to the outside. And then it leads to Io getting the over the moonsault for the win. And that was it. Like I said, it was fine, but considering like it was clunky in spots and considering how great this show was, this is going to stand out as one of the weaker points of the show. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but you could tell it wasn't the greatest thing on this show. Then we get Sami Zayn, Ilya Dragunov, and Jey Uso all in a promo. Ilya's pumping Sami up, saying, hey, cheer up. You're going to be a great champion. And Sami says, yeah, you're going to be a great champion too. Jey then follows up, cheering him up. Sami says, hey, it's a tough pill to swallow. He says, yeah, you're going to be the new Intercontinental Champion. And like Sami's looking down. He's like, hey, who are you kidding? Yeah, I already talked to Pierce. I'm getting a rematch with Breakker next week. And so then Jey says, yeah, we'll handle some Judgment Day stuff. And you could be a double champion. So we're setting the stage that Sami and Jey are a package deal because their story has been intricate for the last 2 years. And they're going to probably go back to helping Roman in this new bloodline. And we'll see where that goes. But interesting that you waited until nearly the end of the show to establish that Sami Zayn's still there. I think we're running down the clock on these guys. But it's not going to happen right away. But I think Jey and Sami at some point are going to be reinserted into the Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0's feud. Joe Gacy gets a little hype package explaining his ties, what he's doing within the Wyatt Six. And then we get the main event. It's Creeds and Gable, who are now called American Made. I think that's a missed opportunity. It's a fine name. Team Gable was right there. But okay, it's fine. Wyatt's come out to Shatter by Code Orange, which is Bray Wyatt's last theme. That was really cool. Wyatt's rushed the ring to start the match. Creeds and Gable get spooked by Uncle Howdy early on in this thing. Loomis is the one who starts this match with Gable, but Gable then retreats out and Julius Creed's involved. A lot of cool stuff. Like this fight was if you were expecting like some bell-to-bell 5-star classic here, that's not what you were going to get. Like, yes, obviously the better wrestling side was Creeds and Gable, American Made. But the Wyatt Six is, like I said, they've got decent wrestlers. Like Eric Rowan, we've never known him as a master technician, but for a big guy, he can do well. Dexter Loomis is okay. Joe Gacy is, I think, underrated for what he can do. And I think he's a good addition to this group. Yeah, there was a lot of neat trio action stuff. Like there was Rowan holding up one Creed, and then Gacy and Loomis run Gable into Rowan, who's using the other Creed as a battering ram. So that was pretty sick. Rowan actually power bombs Dexter Loomis outside to take care of everyone. The Creeds and Gable they do a picture-in-picture, which I thought was interesting on this show. So then Chad gets in a bunch of his stuff. He gets a Northern Light suplex in for 2. Brutus gets a standing moonsault. Julius gets a second rope moonsault. And then Chad gets a top rope moonsault for 2, but it gets broken up by Loomis. Joe Gacy gets a flipping lariat to get control and tag in Rowan. And Rowan dominates everyone. By the way, I also got to give credit to Joe Gacy, who got into the ring at one point and was thrown into the turnbuckle and holds himself upside down. That's kind of a callback to the signature Bray Wyatt pose. So a lot of neat, like, Wyatt OG stuff in this thing, which I liked. So then Rowan's dominating everyone at this point. Rowan hits a jackhammer looking maneuver, but the Creeds are able to break it up. Everybody takes over on Rowan. Gacy gets involved, but he gets taken out by the Creeds. Then Loomis hits like a senton going from the top rope to the outside. Gable is able to hit a German suplex on Eric Rowan, which is not at all, but we know Gable is sneaky strong. That's a 2 count. Gable, he looks for the Creeds, but he finds Dexter Loomis and Joe Gacy. The Creeds try to get involved, but they both get Uranagi'd on the table, so that effectively takes them out. Eric Rowan hits the Iron Claw on Gable. We get the pop-up powerbomb senton combination from Loomis and Gacy. Loomis gets a top rope splash for the win. And the Wyatt Six in their debut match get an emphatic-looking win. By no means was this perfect, but it's what it needed to be. And it was a perfect example of how you book a stable in their first match when you know that there's some limitations across this match. This was perfectly fine, a great way to send the crowd home happy. You ended and made the Wyatts feel like a big deal being in the main event of this show. And capped off what I thought was a fantastic edition of Monday Night Raw. Just an absolutely fantastic edition of Monday Night Raw. Storylines advanced. Even the lesser stuff was fine. Nothing was outright terrible on this show. And that is the mark of a great 3-hour program. I give full credit to Triple H. Long-term booking paid off immensely across this show. And that is Triple H's WWE. And it's so awesome to see. Like just all these intricate storylines coming out of SummerSlam, which is basically kind of like a hard reset to like in the middle of the year. And now you're kicking off your storylines for the back half of the year. Judgment Day, the fallout from the Judgment Day, and what happens with all the stuff that happened at SummerSlam. You got CM Punk and Drew. You set up a fascinating new feud between Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins. This was an outstanding show. And then you get Gunther and frickin' Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. Holy shit. It was the first thing on the show, and this show was so effing great, you almost forget that happened. Awesome, awesome show from WWE. Thank you, Triple H, for an outstanding SummerSlam and an outstanding follow-up. I'll have more this week. AEW Dynamite later in the week. We'll see what they can do. And then SmackDown later in the week. Roman Reigns is back, people. He's already breaking internet records, selling a bunch of money, selling a bunch of merch and everything. It's exciting, people. WWE is exciting and cool, and it's been exciting and cool for a long time, but the boom is just starting, people. It's awesome. So thanks for tuning in. Follow me at Off the Mic 28 on Twitter, OT Mike Wrestling to follow the show on Twitter and also here on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.